Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Selena, and today in the kitchen what I want to do is get some bits and pieces made for our week's lunches. So unlike our normal meal prep that I maybe do or other meal prep that I've done in the past, I'm not going to assemble a bunch of lunches ready to go. I am going to make all the bits and pieces prepared and in the fridge ready for assembling on the day, and that is going to allow me to have a little bit of flexibility in what we eat. So we are going to make a banana bread first up. That's going to be the sweet treat that we're going to have. I will, when it's cold, cut that up and put it into its own portioned freezer bags or cling wrap or something. I'm also going to make a hummus today, a quick hummus, and prepare some carrot sticks so that we can have hummus, carrot sticks, and we can grab some crackers out of the pantry if we want to. And then on top of that, the main component of lunch is going to be some grilled or cooked chicken. To that, I also want to prepare some vegetables, and what that will mean is that I can then have a chicken wrap, or we could have a chicken salad. It just sort of makes the lunch a little bit more flexible than just making up a bunch of salads, because that's more what I'll be leaning towards. One, it'll keep lettuce and things like that from going gross, mushy, but it will also mean that if I don't feel like salad and it's like the third day of the week, I can have a wrap or something like that. So I'm going to prepare my chicken, I'm going to prepare my veggies and things, or a few of them, for the lunch, the main component of lunch. And then again, if anything isn't used up, what I'll be able to do is use all of those vegetables and things. I can throw them on pizza by the end of the week, or we could have like stir fry or something and throw them in that. So nothing's going to get wasted. But yeah, it's going to be prepared for lunch. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell button down below, because that will mean you don't miss any of my videos, okay? I am going to make banana bread using some squishy brown bananas, and this is exactly the kind of banana I like to use for banana bread, and that is because it is well and truly ripe, and the more ripe your banana is, the sweeter it will be, and that makes a really nice banana bread. So for my banana bread today, I'm going to put a couple of chocolate chips in there because I'm feeling generous. We want a bit of chocolate as well. And this is a Cheats banana bread. So I have made banana bread before, and I've used my food processor, and I've also made banana bread a really long time ago. I think like one of the very first videos I ever made was banana bread with coconut or something in it. This is for the time poor people, okay? This is for the people who want homemade but maybe don't have all the time in the world, okay? So it is a packet mix banana bread. I am just using a vanilla cake packet mix, and I have a video dedicated to some homemade cake mixes if you would like to see that, but any packet mix will work. You can get a banana cake packet mix, or you can get just any old cheap vanilla or yellow butter cake, something like that. That will also work. The cake mix I've got here today has brown sugar in it, and I have added some cinnamon, nutmeg, and mixed spice. So I will make sure in my description box down below, in the very bottom, you'll find all the ingredients I use in today's recipe, and I will make sure I have added that down there. But you don't have to use that at all. You can absolutely just use any cake mix you like. So to my 2 mashed bananas, and that's actually all I'm going to need this for. The rest of this is really just a stir and go situation. I've got 125 mils of milk. I have 2 eggs. And I lied, I will be using my whisk still because I want my eggs mixed in. You can use just a wooden spoon if you want. Whatever works for you, okay? The whole point of today's video is let's get these things done. So we're still having homemade food, but making it a little bit simpler, a little bit less overwhelming and just easy, okay? So I'm going to add 100 mils of, I've got melted butter here. You can use butter or oil and possibly even applesauce. Not that I've tried using applesauce, but I do know that you can substitute applesauce for oil and butter sometimes. I think that's what we can do. I know I've done it like a really long time ago, but. Okay, now I am gonna add a bit of extra vanilla, and I'm just adding 1 teaspoon. I'm going to add my cake mix with my spices. And I want to get this mostly mixed through. To about that point there. Okay, now I want to add my chocolate chips, and I'm eyeballing this. These are bigger ones. These are like those melt sizes. So I'm going to add a good handful, and then I'll probably put a few on top as well. Give this a good mix. Just like that. I've got a pre-lined with baking paper loaf tray. So this is quite a long loaf tray. You could also absolutely turn these into muffins, and I almost did. And then I decided, no, I want them to be slices. All right, I'm just gonna add a few more of my chocolate chips to the top. Just like that. So this is going to take about 40 to 50 minutes in an oven. My oven has preheated. It is set to 180 degrees Celsius, all right? I'm going to put my banana bread in there, set a timer for 40 minutes and see how we go, okay? Okay, so while our banana bread is in the oven, I'm going to get my chicken started. Now this chicken is going to be cold when we go to eat it, and it also is going to, it'll work well in a salad, it'll also work well in wraps. So in my bowl already, I've just got a tablespoon of French onion soup mix. I'm only using that because I have it. If I didn't have that on hand already opened, onion powder would have been perfectly fine. All right, I'm just gonna put all my dry ingredients into this dish, and then I'm gonna roll my chicken around in it. So I've got half a teaspoon of turmeric, half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, half a teaspoon of cumin, this is going to give me like a nice curry style flavored chicken, which I find goes really well with a bit of Greek yogurt and some salad, either in a bowl with some quinoa and lettuce and things like that, or in a wrap. So it's really nice, and a bit of Greek yogurt. Did I say that? Okay, I've got some dehydrated parsley here, and because I dehydrated the whole leaves, I'm gonna say about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon again of parsley, just crunched up. So like a teaspoon of olive oil to that. Okay, I've got 2 chicken breasts that I will be cooking in this today. I'm going to add a little more olive oil because that French onion soup mix has made up quite a bit of volume, I guess. If I was using onion powder, I would have just stuck to like 2 teaspoons of onion powder. Oh, and curry powder. I'm like, why does it not smell like curry yet? Another half a teaspoon of curry powder, okay? So half a teaspoon of basically everything except the onion. There we go. That smells better. Okay, just like that. All right. I'm going to add my 2 chicken breasts. I did pre-clean these, so I cut off any bits that are not real desirable to eat. And I did that before I bagged them. I just want to let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes. Almost like marinating, but not quite. So while I let my chicken just marinate for a few moments, I'm going to prepare my carrots for carrot sticks for the hummus. And I have obviously washed my hands, okay? Please don't stress. I'm just doing 3 because I'm not making a whole lot of hummus. I'm going to make enough hummus for 1 can of chickpeas, okay? This is a hummus recipe that is super simple, and you can absolutely double it, triple it, things like that, all right? This is just a single serving or a single can amount. So I think 3 carrots will be enough. And a tip, this is something I always do when I cut carrot sticks. So not when I'm doing grated carrot or things like that, but when I cut carrot sticks for the purpose of having them as carrot sticks, I always put a little bit of water in the bottom of the container that I'm storing them in the fridge. It keeps your carrots fresh and crispy, and they don't go dry and wilty, okay? It keeps them nice and firm. I obviously don't, I drain that water out. We don't eat it, but a little bit of water just in the bottom, like a tablespoon amount in the bottom, lid on in the fridge, and they will keep lovely and crispy, okay? So I'm gonna add my water now. I don't even know if you can see that, but there is a little bit of water in the bottom, okay? My carrot sticks are now done, ready for the fridge. Other veggies that I wanna get done now, because why not get them done now? I'm already cutting. So I've got some onions and a capsicum, and I do want to cut these up, and they will go in a container together in my fridge. It always happens to me. Oh well. I will, as I said, if we don't end up using all of the carrot and capsicum, then they are pre-cut, or not carrot, the onion and the capsicum. It's pre-cut now. It'll be ready for doing pizza. It'll be ready for doing stir fries. If I don't use it at all, I will transfer it to a freezer bag and pop it in the freezer for the next time I'm cooking something and needing carrot and capsicum, all right? There was a piece in here. That was no good. So nothing will go to waste, but this is going to make putting a salad together much easier, or a wrap, the day I need it, okay? Half the work is going to be done. And because it's summer here, or technically it's spring, but it might as well be summer, really hot, okay? We are not being able to grow our own lettuce at this point, so I am buying bagged lettuce, which is just going to make the job even easier. If I was growing lettuce, or I was doing this at a time of the year when I could grow lettuce, or rocket. Rocket is another delicious leafy green that we can use. I would pre-wash it and make sure it was all the size, like cut it if I needed to. So it was the size I needed and bagged in the fridge. So I would prepare my lettuce if it was something I wasn't buying at this point in time. I have got 2 small to medium onions. These are our onions, we grew these. I have harvested all my onions now. They are currently drying or curing on my front veranda, on some cardboard, where we get a little bit of breeze. Last year I had them in a room on like a clothes drying rack, and I had a lot of them go bad. So far so good. I have a plan if they do start to rot, or if they do start to go soft, I'm going to cut them all and freeze them. I did that last year with what I could, and it ended up being super helpful to have frozen onions ready to go. So that's my backup plan for my onions. But that is the last thing to come out of my garden. Now my garden is going through a rest period because our summers are hot. We are currently going through a bit of a dry spell. So I'm not planting anything right now, not even flowers. So it's just taking a rest, letting my garden have a rest, and I'll reevaluate that situation at a later time. Okay, I have carrot and I have capsicum and onion. That is now ready for the fridge. Just need to find the lid for that container. The other salad component that I'm going to be preparing is like a dry coleslaw mix. When I make coleslaw, I put onion in it, or green onions as well. I'm not going to add those to this dry mix. Whenever I find I do that and I pre-make it in advance, the whole cabbage, carrot scenario ends up tasting like onions. So I do have prepared onions. I will have prepared cabbage and carrot that'll be grated together, and that will sit together, and then I can do what I need to do to make coleslaw, right, really quickly. And I won't be dressing this either because I'm not sure what I'm going to feel like doing. So I will be using my high-powered food processor. This is the Mistral Smart Intelli kitchen machine. I don't know if they still make them. I have talked about it in the past. It is essentially just a food processor, but it's a little bit like a Thermomix in that it does have a heating element. I rarely use that heating element, but today I'm going to be using this to grate my carrot and my cabbage for the coleslaw. And I will also be making my hummus with it. So you don't have to have one of these. You can absolutely manually grate your vegetables, and you can use any kind of food processor, even a stick blender or a blender, to make hummus, okay? You don't have to have one of these. I'm going to use it, and since I'm going to be making 2 things that I can use it with, I'll give it a quick rinse with water before I make my hummus. So for this particular machine, if you do happen to have one, I have taken the blade out. I'm using the little stand here, and that goes in. That will then hold my grating blade, and all these come with the machine if you do buy one. It has a slicing component there and then grating on the other side. So I'm going to make sure I put it in with grating facing up. I will be using the alternative lid, the one with the chute, okay? So I will put that on, and I need the little plunger as well. I get everything ready before I turn this on, okay? It has its own function button, but essentially it's just going to be spinning. I have a few bits of cabbage here. I'm just going to use all of this up. The idea with using a food processor with a chute, if you are going to grate things, is you do need to make sure what you have is going to fit through your chute as well. I'm going to grate up this much, see how we go. If we need more, this is the bowl that I'm going to be storing it in. I also store this in freezer Ziploc bags as well sometimes. So if you're using this particular machine, you want to go to automatic programs and you just want to hit the food processor button, and I just increase the time to the maximum 1 minute. If you're using a food processor with a pulse button, just hit that pulse button. Get your, not pulse, you can use your pulse button to food process grate, or if you have a machine with a grating attachment, just use that. I also have one on my KitchenAid, so I have multiple ways of grating if I really want to. I am going to pop these in here, get these grated. Just like that. Give it a little mix so that the carrot and the cabbage are well mixed together. And that is another one ready for the fridge. All right, I was going to cook my chicken next, but I decided let's just get everything finished other than our chicken, because then it's had a little bit more time to marinate. What I'm going to do now is make my hummus. So all I've done is rinse out my food processor. I'm putting the blade in there now. And all I'm going to do is put everything in here, turn it on and whiz it or blitz it until it gets super smooth, okay? So what I have is 1 can of chickpeas. Like I said, you can absolutely use 2. You can save the chickpea juice for other things too. It can be used as a meringue substitute if you whip it. So that's a whole nother video. Okay, I'm just going to drain mine off here. Yeah, so I've got 1 can of chickpeas. I've got 1 lemon. I'm going to need the juice of this lemon. This recipe calls for tahini. I never seem to have tahini. I don't know why. I just never seem to remember to buy it. So instead of tahini, I have some sesame seeds and I have a little bit of sesame oil. So I'm just going to add that instead. If you have tahini, add tahini. Okay, so once your chickpeas are drained, you can go ahead and add those to the food processor. I will add my 2 halves of my lemon, so lemon juice. If you lose seeds in here, take them out. And actually, here's a tip, put your colander back on here. That will make catching seeds much easier. All right, I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. I would add a tablespoon of tahini because I don't have one. I'm going to add a little bit of sesame oil, so half a tablespoon or about a teaspoon or 2. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of sesame seeds. All right, we want some salt. I'm going to give it a good pinch of salt. 2 garlic cloves, or about 1.5 teaspoons because mine are quite small. Okay, and that is all the ingredients you need. I am just going to food process this until it's really nice and smooth. If it's too thick and you need to thin it out a bit, you can just drizzle in a little bit of water while you're processing. So I'm just going to turn that on, full speed, until it's nice and smooth. I'm just going to give this a scrape down because being a food processor, it has put hummus everywhere, all over the bowl. Okay, so I'm just going to scrape that all back down into the bottom. And this gives me an opportunity to see how thick it is. Do I want it thinner? And I do. So I'm going to turn this back on and drizzle a little bit of oil, a little bit of water, not oil, in there. It's about 2 tablespoons. Okay, so because I'm doing a small quantity, I'm not happy with how smooth this has come out. I feel like if I was doing larger quantities, which normally I do when I'm making hummus, the food processor would have been ideal, but you know, sometimes you've just got to make more mess. So I have it like this, and if you don't mind hummus a little bit thicker in texture, you could absolutely just use this as it is. Because I want this super smooth, I am going to put it in a smaller container and hit it with the stick blender. Okay, I'm much happier with that texture, much smoother. Okay, so before we package this up, I'm going to give it a quick taste, because if it needs seasoning, now's the time to season it. No, that's perfect. Delicious, in fact. So I have these little glass containers here. They do have a lid. I really do need to get myself some plastic versions, but for now, this is what I have that's sort of small. Okay, so I've just cleaned up the edges a little bit, just to make them a bit tidier. Now, I want to add just a tiny bit of smoked paprika to the top. A couple of sesame seeds. And just a tiny bit of crushed parsley. And that's just because I like it, okay? So there we go, a little tiny pot of hummus ready for the carrot sticks. All right, my banana bread is good. The skewer is coming out clean. I'm leaving my oven on because my chicken will be put in there as well. And the chocolate on top looks like it has burnt slightly, but that's okay, I don't mind. I'm just putting my little lids on my hummus, and it can go in the fridge, and then we'll get our chicken cooked off. So my chicken is ready to get cooked off. I'm going to heat up a frying pan behind me with just a tiny bit of oil. I'm just going to give it a spray of oil and get that nice and warm before we add our chicken. Just going to let that heat up. Once your pan is nice and hot, we can add our chicken. Okay, I'm going to put my chicken in the oven, all right? But first of all, I want to add a couple of tablespoons, carefully, to the pan, okay? And I'm turning the heat off. I've put my lid on. I'm going to put this now in the oven. This is going to essentially steam bake my chicken so that it stays nice and juicy. It'll release the flavor that has stuck to the base of the pan as well, okay? So I'm gonna pop that in the oven. It's only gonna take about 10-15 minutes, and then I can pull it out. Okay, straight out of the oven. I did check it just before, and I cut the thick areas in the breast. And it was almost done, so now it is done. Okay. And this smells so good. Really, really yummy smelling. I'm going to pick up some of this left behind flavor, put it back on. Okay. Just get rid of my pan. So I thought I would show you how I will quickly put together one of these salads. Now, obviously I will use the chicken when it's cold. I won't use it when it's warm. But to put this salad together, I will be using it warm. This is one of my favorite ways to have this salad. So first thing I'm going to do is, or I have done, is I've just put a little bit of lettuce mix into a bowl. If I'm taking this somewhere, I will put it into a container, okay? So I always just start the base, bit of lettuce mix. Oh, they're my carrot sticks for my hummus. Then I just add a little bit of the bits and pieces that we prepared earlier. And this is why it's super handy to do this. Bit of my dry coleslaw mix. And if I was doing a wrap, exactly the same thing, but in a wrap. And there'd be less lettuce, obviously. All right, I've got a couple of tomatoes here. Now, I didn't pre-prepare any tomatoes, but that's just because I've only got cherry tomatoes anyway, and I'll just throw them in fresh. I find if you pre-cut your tomatoes, they can sometimes be a little less than appealing anyway. I have some lime, and I love to sprinkle lime juice on top of this salad, and I've also got some Greek yogurt. And in my next, hopefully next, Instant Pot video that I make for you, I will show you again how to make yogurt, but that's just Greek yogurt. It's been strained, so it's really nice and thick. Okay, so that's the base of my salad. That will go into a container, like I said, if I'm leaving. And then what I will do is I will pre-slice all of this chicken before I put it in its own container, so that I can just top my salad with a bit of chicken. And that is essentially what my lunch would look like if I choose to have as a salad. Again, a wrap. I'm going to put it all in that wrap except for the lime, and I'll just either grill it like in a sandwich press, heat it up, or have it cold. Delicious, with or without yogurt, so that's also optional. Okay, my banana bread is still warm, so I'm not going to keep cutting it, but we have, okay, a couple of nice slices. That needs to cool right down, all right? It smells delicious. Everything is smelling really good. I do hope that this video was helpful. I know it wasn't a lot of really cooking today, but sometimes it's the simple things that make life just so much easier. If you haven't been meal prepping lunches or even just components, I do encourage you to give it a go. It does make life really a lot simpler each day. Have a fantastic week. I'll catch you next time. Bye.